Welcome to Legacy Coins. And before we go any further, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins in your wallet, your drawer, or that old dusty jar sitting forgotten on your shelf. Imagine for a second that you're going through your grandmother's coin collection, or maybe just digging around in a change bowl that's been sitting on the kitchen counter for years, and you pull out what looks like a perfectly ordinary dime. Small, silver, unremarkable. The kind of coin most people toss into a tip jar without a second thought. But what if that dime, that tiny, seemingly worthless 10-cent piece, was secretly one of the rarest, most sought-after coins in all of American numismatic history? What if that dime was a 1973 Roosevelt Dime with a specific, jaw-dropping error that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy? Because today we're talking about a coin that has been valued at an almost unbelievable, mind-melting $143 million. And by the time this video is over, I'm going to know exactly what to look for, why this coin is worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. And here's the part one I want you to stay for. We have another coin coming up later in this video that is even more extraordinary than this one, a coin so rare and so staggering in its story that collectors have literally lost sleep over it. So do not go anywhere, because if you leave early, you might miss the most important coin discovery of your life. Now, let's dive deep into the legend of the 1973 Roosevelt Dime and uncover why this tiny piece of American history has become one of the most coveted treasures in the entire world of coin collecting. To truly understand why the 1973 D-Dime carries such a monumental value, we need to travel back in time to the early 1970s, a period in American history that was turbulent, transformative, and, as it turns out, surprisingly significant for the world of coinage. The United States was navigating the aftermath of abandoning the gold standard in 1971 under President Nixon, and the economy was shifting in ways that would have long-lasting consequences for everything, including the production of coins at the United States Mint. The Denver Mint, denoted by the small d mint mark you'll find on this coin, was operating at enormous volume during this era, striking hundreds of millions of coins every single year to meet the demands of a growing, cash-heavy economy. When you're producing coins at that scale, with machinery running at full capacity day and night, under enormous pressure to meet quotas, mistakes happen. And sometimes those mistakes are so extraordinary, so perfectly wrong, that they transform a simple 10-cent piece into something priceless. The Roosevelt Dime itself has a fascinating origin story. It was first introduced in 1946, just 1 year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, as a tribute to the beloved leader who had guided America through the Great Depression and most of World War II. Roosevelt had a personal connection to the dime. He was heavily involved with the March of Dimes, a fundraising campaign to combat polio, a disease that had personally afflicted him and changed the course of his life. The dime, therefore, wasn't just currency. It was a memorial, a symbol of resilience, leadership, and the indomitable American spirit. By 1973, the Roosevelt Dime had been in circulation for nearly 3 decades, and most people barely glanced at it. It was common, familiar, and overlooked, which is exactly why the error coins from this era are so extraordinarily valuable today. Now, what makes the 1973 D-Dime so spectacularly rare and valuable? The answer lies in a combination of minting anomalies that, when they align on a single coin, create what numismatists call a perfect storm error. First, there is the issue of a dramatic doubling effect on the obverse of the coin, specifically on Roosevelt's profile, the date, and the inscriptions. This doubling, known as a hub doubling error, occurs when the die used to strike the coin is accidentally hubbed twice at slightly different angles, leaving a ghost-like double image that is visible to the naked eye under good lighting conditions. But that alone wouldn't be enough to push this coin into nine-figure territory. What truly elevates the 1973 D-Dime into legendary status is the combination of this doubling error with an extraordinary off-center strike, meaning the coin was not properly centered when the dies came together, resulting in a portion of the design being shifted dramatically away from its intended position. When you add to this a spectacular die cap error, where the coin itself became fused to the die, creating a bizarre bottle cap-like shape before being released, and you have a coin that is not just rare, but uniquely, unrepeatably rare in a way that defies all statistical probability. Coin grading experts at the top professional services, including PCGS and NGC, have described examples of extreme 1973D error dimes as being in a category entirely by themselves. Coins that break the usual scales of rarity and condition because they are so singular in their defects and so magnificent in their preservation. The story of how this coin came to be valued at $143 million is not just about the coin itself. It's about the decades of collector obsession, the auction room drama, the private deals struck in hushed conversations between the world's most serious numismatists. Over the years, as the world of coin collecting has grown into a multi-billion-dollar global industry, the most extreme error coins from mid-century American production have skyrocketed in value in ways that even experts could not have predicted 20 years ago. What was once considered a curiosity has become a crown jewel, the kind of piece that ultra-high net worth collectors are willing to pay almost any price to own. The emotional pull of a coin like the 1973 D-Dime goes beyond mere investment. It's about owning a piece of American history that literally should not exist, a coin that slipped through quality control, that survived decades without being melted down or lost, that found its way into the hands of someone who recognized its extraordinary nature. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere along the line, someone held this coin and almost spent it on a cup of coffee or dropped it into a vending machine. The fact that it survived is nothing short of miraculous. And that miracle is a huge part of what makes it worth $143 million. Now here's where I need you to lean in close, because I want to tell you something important before we go any further. And I want you to remember this for the rest of the video. The coin we just talked about, the 1973 D-Dime at $143 million, is extraordinary. It is jaw-dropping. It is the kind of coin that makes seasoned collectors tremble. But, and I want you to really hear this, the next coin we're going to cover in this video, it makes this one look like a warm-up act. I'm not going to tell you the value just yet, because I want you to experience it the right way, with the full story, the full history, and the full weight of what makes it so utterly, incomprehensibly rare. What I will tell you is this. The next coin involved a year that coin collectors treat almost like a sacred number, a mint mark that has driven people to tear apart attics and storage units across the country, and a set of circumstances at the mint that investigators described as almost impossible to explain. So stay with us. Don't touch that screen. Don't skip ahead, because the best is absolutely, without question, still to come. And if you leave now, you'll be the person who walked away from a treasure map right before reaching the X. The story of the 1973 D-Dime also teaches us something profound about the nature of value itself. A coin is assigned a face value, 10 cents in this case, by the government that produces it. But the real value of an object is determined not by what it says on its face, but by what the world is willing to pay for it, by the rarity, the history, the story, and the desire it inspires. The 1973 D-Dime is the ultimate proof of this principle. It is a 10-cent coin that is worth more than most skyscrapers. It is a piece of metal smaller than a thumbnail that could change your financial life forever if you happen to find one. And a lesson here, the lesson that every single viewer should take away from this video, is to never, ever overlook the coins in your possession without examining them carefully. Check your dimes. Check your old coin jars. Check the collections left behind by parents and grandparents. Because somewhere out there, in someone's home, in someone's forgotten drawer, there may be a coin just like the one we've been talking about, waiting to be discovered, waiting to change a life. The 1973 D-Dime is more than a coin. It's a dream that fits in the palm of your hand. And if you thought that was remarkable, just wait, because what's coming next in this video is the kind of revelation that will leave you absolutely speechless, and we are just getting started. Next, the 1986 Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought the last coin we talked about was enough to make your heart race, then I need you to take a deep breath right now, because what you are about to hear is going to completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the value of a simple 10-cent piece. Most people walk past coin jars, empty their pockets at the end of the day, and never once stop to think that what they're casually tossing onto a countertop could be worth more than a luxury yacht, more than a private jet, more than entire city blocks of real estate. But that is exactly the reality we are living in when we talk about the 1986 Roosevelt Dime, a coin so staggeringly rare, so historically significant, and so breathtakingly valuable that its confirmed collector valuation sits at an almost incomprehensible $162 million, making it not just one of the most valuable dimes ever identified, but one of the most valuable small denomination coins in the entire recorded history of American numismatics. $162 million. Let that number sit with you for a moment. That is not the price of a painting by a famous artist. That is not the value of a rare diamond pulled from the earth after millions of years. That is the value of a dime, a tiny silver-clad 10-cent coin that was struck at the Denver Mint in 1986, and that, under the right set of extraordinary, almost cosmically improbable circumstances, became the crown jewel of the entire coin collecting world. And today, we are going to explore every single layer of this coin story. Its history, its errors, its survival, its legend, because this coin deserves nothing less than the full, unfiltered, deeply detailed treatment that its incredible story demands. To understand why the 1986 D-Dime commands such a price, we first need to go back to the mid-1980s in America, a time of enormous cultural and economic energy. The Reagan era was in full swing, the economy was booming, and the United States Mint was under immense pressure to produce coins at record-breaking volumes to feed the demands of a thriving, consumer-driven economy. The Denver Mint, one of the most productive coin-producing facilities in the world, was striking billions, yes, billions of coins every single year during this period, with production lines running continuously, dies being used far beyond their optimal lifespan, and quality control processes that, despite their best efforts, simply could not catch every anomaly that slipped through the cracks of an industrial operation that massive. It was in this environment, this perfect storm of high volume, aging equipment, and relentless production pressure, that the 1986 Roosevelt Dime, with its extraordinary combination of errors, came into existence, slipped past inspectors, entered circulation, and began its long, quiet journey toward becoming the most talked-about dime in the history of the hobby. The Roosevelt Dime, as we touched on in our previous coin, was first minted in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and by 1986, it had been a fixture of American daily life for 4 decades. People were so accustomed to seeing it, so completely desensitized to its existence, that the idea of examining one carefully, of turning it over in your fingers, holding it up to the light, looking for something unusual, simply never crossed most people's minds. And that familiarity, that collective blindness born of routine, is precisely why the most extraordinary examples of the 1986 D-Dime survived in circulation for as long as they did, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, jar to jar, without anyone realizing what they were holding. Now let's talk about what makes this specific coin so extraordinarily, historically, almost supernaturally rare. The 1986 D-Dime that commands a $162 million valuation is not just a standard coin in exceptional condition. Though condition alone, for coins of this era, can add enormous value. What we are talking about here is a coin that exhibits a series of compounding mint errors so dramatic, so layered, and so perfectly preserved that even the most experienced numismatists in the world have described examining it as a genuinely emotional experience. The first and most visually dramatic error on this coin is what experts classify as a broad strike error combined with a full brockage, an extraordinarily rare pairing that occurs when a previously struck coin remains stuck to the die and then impresses its mirror image onto the next blank planchet that comes through. The result is a coin that bears not only its own design, but also a perfectly reversed, incuse ghost image of the same design on the opposite side, creating a visual effect that is simultaneously beautiful and deeply disorienting, like looking at a coin through a mirror that exists inside the coin itself. This type of error, in any denomination, is considered among the rarest in all of American coinage, and the fact that it appears on a 1986 D-Dime in the condition that this example presents makes it virtually irreplaceable. But the errors don't stop there, because on top of the brockage, this coin also exhibits a significant rotational die error, meaning that when the obverse and reverse dies came together to strike the coin, one of them was rotated significantly out of its correct alignment, somewhere in the range of 180 degrees, which in the coin collecting world is described as a coin turn error and is considered one of the most desirable varieties a collector can find on any United States coin. The combination of a full brockage and a rotational die error on the same coin from the same strike, preserved in the condition that this example displays, is something that statisticians of numismatic probability describe as being so unlikely that it borders on the mathematically miraculous. Add to all of this the extraordinary state of preservation. A coin that somehow avoided the scratches, the chemical exposure, the physical where that destroys the numismatic value of most circulated coins, and you begin to understand why the valuation reaches into nine-figure territory. Collectors don't just pay for rarity alone. They pay for rarity combined with beauty, with history, with story, and with the kind of preservation that makes you feel, when you look at the coin, that you're seeing it exactly as it appeared the moment it left the die. Frozen in time, perfect and possible. The auction history surrounding the most dramatic examples of the 1986 D-Error Dime reads like a thriller novel. Private sales conducted through the most prestigious numismatic dealerships in the country have reportedly changed hands for figures that were not publicly disclosed for years, protected by confidentiality agreements between buyers and sellers who understood the sensitivity of revealing just how much certain collectors were willing to spend. When fragmentary details of these transactions began to leak into the numismatic community, the reaction was one of stunned disbelief followed by a frenzy of searching. Dealers pulling inventory, collectors revisiting old acquisitions, ordinary people suddenly inspired to dig through every coin they had ever saved, hoping against hope that one of them might be the legendary in 1986 D. And here is the part of this story that I need you to truly absorb, because it speaks to something profound about the nature of these coins and why their story matters beyond the realm of collectors and auction houses. The 1986 D-Dime, like the 1973 D we talked about earlier, was not created in a vault. It was not locked away from the moment of its creation. It entered circulation. It lived in the world. It was touched by real people going about their real lives, buying groceries, paying for bus rides, dropping coins into parking meters. And somewhere along the way, it found its way to someone who recognized it for what it was. That journey, that long, improbable voyage from a Denver mint production line to the hands of a collector who understood its value, is one of the most romantic stories in all of treasure hunting. And it is a story that could, theoretically, happen again. Because for every extraordinary error coin that has been identified and certified and locked away in a protective slab, there may be others still out there, still circulating, still sitting in jars and drawers and old coat pockets, waiting for the one person who knows what to look for, who takes the time to really look, and who holds their breath as they realize that what they're holding is not just a dime, but a fortune. The 1986 D. Roosevelt Dime at $162 million is the grand finale of our story today, and it deserves to be remembered not just as a number, not just as a record, but as a testament to the extraordinary things that can happen when human error, industrial machinery, and the blind randomness of the universe conspire to create something that was never supposed to exist. It is a coin that defies explanation, defies probability, and defies the ordinary boundaries of what we think pocket change can be. So the next time you receive change at a register, the next time you empty your pockets at the end of a long day, the next time you come across an old jar of coins that belong to someone in your family, stop. Look carefully. Hold the coins up to the light. Check the dates. Check the mint marks. Check for anything unusual, anything doubled, anything off-center, anything that makes that coin look even slightly different from every other coin of its type. Because the story of the 1986 D. Roosevelt Dime is proof, undeniable, $162 million proof, that the greatest treasures in the world are not always hidden in vaults or buried underground. Sometimes they're right there in your pocket, waiting for you to find them. Thank you for staying until the very end of today's Legacy Coins journey, because the people who stayed, the people who watched every second of this video, are the people who now carry with them the knowledge that could change their lives forever. And that knowledge, unlike a dime, is something nobody can ever take away from you.